What's up, Pirates? Ray Talks here with Awaken TCG, and today we have a brand new video. We're going to be going over basically leaders that I think are going to be amazing into OP06. Granted, there is going to be an OP05 or there's going to be a new ban list / restriction list after Worlds. We don't know if it's going to pertain to both sets, if it's just going to be Japan, if it's going to be only us. That's why I'm really pushing for them to just have a global release for the sets eventually. I think they're doing that for Digimon or planning to. I'm not sure, but we really need some sort of changes, right? Here we have some of the OP06 winning deck lists. The Japan meta is now in EB1, excuse me, but we have some OP06 winning deck lists here that we're going to go over. It's kind of just go over. So here we have Moria, which is one of the new leaders. That's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. It's one of the new leaders. It is 5 life leader. It's a black color, so it can use Rebecca, it can use Moria, these strong, powerful cards. And then its archetype is just so good. There's so many cards that you can use. You can develop the board and KO a 2-drop. You can play something, grab something again to use it to KO again eventually. Just so much versatility in a 5-life leader that you always want to see. So I mean, Moria, obviously it is not an OP05 leader, but definitely a good pick. Again, RP Law. I think RP Law is getting better and better every single set. And so right now in OP05, it's kind of in the tier 2 range. Granted, it can win if it like super high rolls. But I think it's a solid tier 2 deck currently. As it gets more support, it's going to slowly climb up that tier. And even into EBO1, it's still doing pretty decent. So here is an example that, you can win. This is a flagship. All these are flagships, so they're 5-0, the champion deck list. The big one is obviously Sakazuki. Sakazuki being the most consistent. I think just having that double leader ability, the -1 on attack, and then having the cycle every single turn makes it so your trash is always filled up for Lucci. And you get rid of the cards you don't want to potentially see something you do need every single turn. So the consistency is it's always there, right? The consistency is there, and it gets even better with more searchers into OP06. So Sakazuki, probably my favorite OP05 leader going into OP06 that you can perform on. Granted, like I said, I'm going to make a whole separate video on ban speculation, but as of right now, if we go into OP06 with what the meta is right now without bans and restrictions, Sakazuki is still top 2 and my favorite OP05 leader going into OP06. Even if I don't play it, consistency-wise, competitively, it is the best choice to pick going into OP06. Another one is Yamato and Perona. Both of these are solid new decks that come out in OP06. Not too much to talk about just because we're talking about OP05 leaders that are good into OP06. Another one is Katakuri. Katakuri having a good, it's always crazy because the deck is so good with the 10 mobs, but you have to get so lucky to have like that win, right? You can perform really well and have a decent day, but in order to get that win, you have to be performing. Your triggers have to be hitting. It's a higher rolling deck because the strength of it is determined by A, how many triggers can you hit, and B, are you going second? Can you 10 mom on curve and chain them? Because then you just win, which are our biggest factors, right? Because it's a very straightforward deck. You attach once leader, play on curve. Attach once leader, play on curve. Very minimal situations where you actually want to, spread your Dawn out and push for lethal where you're not playing on curve. But that's a whole different situation. So Katakuri, I think, is definitely in my top 5 OP05 leaders going into OP06. Yeah, it's solid. It's consistent. It gets more support. And yeah, if you're good on this deck and you're a lucky player, this is, yellow is the colorway for you. Again, we have another Sakazuki win here, Moria, Saka. So if you guys don't already see, the 2 most consistent decks in OP06 for the East meta was Sakazuki, Moria. So again, Sakazuki being the best choice if you're going to go into OP06 with a OP05 leader is going to be Sakazuki. Here we do have an Enel win on flagship. Enel is another great deck that does get a good amount of support. But if we, break it down, Moria and Sakazuki just have the ability to always KO something and develop board, which makes it so difficult for Anel to, really shine in a meta where it's filled with that, because you play one body a turn. If it gets cleared and then they develop two bodies, you're kind of in a rough situation. You really have to chain, and hope that eventually they run out of steam. Uta, it actually won the Japan Nats. I think they were playing EB1 though, so it's a little bit different. We're talking about OP06 because that is what we're going to be on, but it has the potential. Like, can we click on the list? Let's click on the list real quick, just to scope it out. Like, it has potential. Like, we're gonna have these Mihawks, so we can run 4 of these Mihawks. We're gonna have these Zoros as tech cards, right? If it sticks on board, you get 3 huge swings, right? Again, we're going to have these choppers, these Mihawks to go to 8, and then we're going to have 4 Izos, so 12 2Ks now. We're actually playing this really defensively. Just so good. So good overall. The tempo gets even better because you can Mihawk into Brook, into Usopp or Nami on the same exact turn. So it's just boom, boom, boom. Even better, you can Law. You Law on curve. You can Mihawk with 1 Dawn, and then you can Mihawk, Brook, Usopp, and then play Nami on top of that F4 Dawn. So it gets pretty hectic, pretty wild. You just go from no board to full board on your second turn. So very tempo based, but like if you hit the nuts, you're just swinging 5 5 5 5 5 5 on turn 3, which is insane. And your opponent's going to either go down to 1 life, which puts you at I'm invincible range, or they're going to give you all their cards, and now they're just in a rough spot. They can't play the game. So Uta is another one of my top 5 leaders going into OP06. One leader that I'm not too fond of is Purple Luffy. I'm going to be honest. Even in OP05, I always, from the jump, you guys know, I've said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. I don't think Purple Luffy is as good as people make it out to be. This is using the Hanyabao, which makes this deck a little more consistent to find your Magellans. But this is a very, very base list. I don't think there's anything new here. There's nothing new in this list. It's just the Hanya Ball. Probably caught people off guard. It is a flagship win, so got that 5-0. But I don't personally like Pluffy, and as you can see, that's the only Pluffy on this whole list that we're looking at. Why? Because Pluffy is just not as good as it is in OP05. It definitely goes down a tier just from the lack of support. Again, more Sakazukis, Katakuris. We have a kid. I personally wouldn't play this leader going into OP06 just because we have Uta, and then as you can see, they're playing the Fishman Pirate. Not much to say on that list. Perona, Anel, RP Law. So, we do have a Law and a Zoro. 2 very interesting flagships. These are all OP06. A Whitebeard, we know a Nami one. Look, Katakuri, Saka, Katakuri. We have, another Katakuri. So, here is my list, my official list on my favorite decks from OP05 to run in OP06. This is going to have to be, mind you, this is without the ban restriction list that's going to come out after Worlds, March 2nd and 3rd. So, they're planning to release that afterwards. So, this is going to be probably a lot different depending on what they actually ban. So for now, though, it's going to have to be Sakazuki at 1, probably the most consistent deck and continues to be the most consistent. So Sakazuki at 1. At 2, I'm going to have to go with, this might be a hot take, but I'm going to have to go with Anel. I think Anel has what it takes. You guys are going to see. There's still some development that I think that deck can run. So Anel's going to be my number 2. My number 3 is going to have to be Katakuri. Just a very consistent deck. And if 10 Mom stays, you can just trigger win into your 10 Mom late game, and you just, have a smooth run at tournaments. Especially getting that Pero top life trigger. You can't go wrong with that. 4th, I'm going to have to go with Green Uta. I think Green Uta is such a good deck. It's very vanilla, but if you're a great player that has good fundamentals, that deck can do you no wrong. Your opponent misplays, you'll be able to capitalize. It's just about learning matchups at the end of the day. And then my 5th deck, I'm going to have to say, it's not Purple Luffy, it's RP Law. I think RP Law has what it takes. Zoro, while good, Law, Red-Green Law, while good. Sakazuki is still running the meta, and it only gets better. And now Moria is here, and just Lot can't win against those decks. I'm sorry. It's possible, but it's an unfavored matchup, and if that's the two most common leaders we're going to see, you don't want to run Law into that red-green. RP Law, on the other hand, has the momentum, has the tempo. You know, it can just high roll itself into these situations where it just has an easy time winning. You know, you play something like a Borsellino, it gets bot deck, they're establishing 2 bodies on board. Like, let's go ahead and take a look at this list before we finish yapping here. Yeah, so, you know, has the Shachi and Penguin for that early pressure. It's running... Oh, it's running some Reijus. That's very interesting. Okay. Because you can Dawn minus, and then you play this off of your hand after you clear something, and now you just drew 2 cards. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. That's a lot of card draw. One thing this deck struggled with before was actually running out of gas, right? It ran out of steam. So now having this, it definitely changes things a little bit. I didn't even think about that, honestly. But yeah, no, that's a really good addition. Yeah, these are Juros for ramp. Kid, set up your mid game. A very more mid-range type of Law rather than, you know, super turbo tempo and just bottom deck anything they play and just drop bodies and swing. This has a little more setup with the Zorojuro, the 4 kids, blockers. Double Gordon means that you're always in range to KO something. No searchers, but I think that's totally fine for a deck like this. But yeah, shout out firefizz.gg for having all these OP06 winning deck lists just so easily available to us. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I hope you guys got some insight on what is gonna be at the top of OP06 if they don't ban anything. But obviously, they did announce that they were gonna ban something, so hopefully, it's gonna hit us. You know, not as hard. Yeah, we might have a whole different meta, so it's gonna be interesting to see. But regardless, play Saka is what I basically want to say. Getting out of this, if you want to win tournaments, it's just too consistent and too good. But that is gonna be it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. We have a lot of big content coming up, a lot of big recordings this weekend. I'm streaming these next 2 Saturdays. We're gonna be streaming the treasure cups on Uta. If I do good this Saturday on Uta, I'll run it back. If I do poorly, I'm just gonna go back to an L and try to get my shanks. So we're gonna have to wait and see for that. But that's gonna be it for this video. Like I said, again, you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.